Namaste. Welcome to your practice. This class is the second of a two-part series I'm calling Yoga for the Modern Body. Now you can do this class on its own as a standalone practice, or you might do it after you've already done the other one. The first session focused a little bit more on some lower to the ground poses, a little more stretching, a little bit quieter. In this practice, we are going to be a little bit more vigorous. We'll include some standing work, but really accessible options. So let's begin by lying down, which is where our last class left off. And we'll get right into the practice today because it is a shorter practice. So let's start by crossing the right ankle over the left thigh for reclined pigeon. And it might feel good just to stay right here where you are, or perhaps you'd like to draw the knees in toward you if that feels good. If it doesn't feel good to hold behind the knee, if that feels compressive or uncomfortable, then you can simply keep the foot on the floor, or you might slide an object under your left foot. I've got a block here I can do. Or you could have your foot propped up on a table or a couch or a chair or even the wall. As we stay here for a few breaths, it might feel good to rock a little bit side to side. And then let's just do a quick check-in with the body. See if you can feel all the places where your body is resting on the earth, feeling the arms, feeling the back of the hips, the back of the shoulders. Scan through your body with your awareness and see what your energy level is feeling like today. We're not going to sort of hit the ground running. We're easing into our practice, but it's always really good to take this time just to see, like, how am I today? What do I feel like my body needs? And from here, let's change legs. If you had a block or an object under the foot, you might need to slide that to the side as I just did, or maybe you're hugging the legs in, or you've got the foot on the floor. As you come to the second side, you may notice that you need to make some adjustments to accommodate yourself. Go ahead and find whatever it is you need to do in order to feel like this is a good place for you to be. And to complete our beginning meditation, you might do a little check-in with your internal experience as well, just seeing, how's my mood today? How am I inside? How is my thought process? What's my stress level feel like? And as best as we can, we're doing this without any judgment or expectation, just taking inventory of how you are right now as we move into our practice. If you'd like to set an intention for yourself, here is a time where you might invite that in, maybe putting one hand over the heart, two hands there, or pressing the palms together at the space of the heart. Take a moment or two just to feel as though you're breathing your intention through your whole body. And then letting that go, the arms can come back to the sides or wherever they feel comfortable. We'll uncross your second leg. So that stretch is really nice to counter a lot of the strain that can happen in the back of the hip when we spend a lot of time seated. Let's move a little bit more here. Pull your knees in toward you. You don't have to hug them in tight. You can just lift them up into the air and place a hand on each knee. Then we'll do a little rock side to side. Sometimes this feels nice to massage across the lower back. And then come back through to center. Take the arms out to a T. And take your knees to sort of a 90-degree angle. So I've got my knees a little bit pulled in. And then drop your knees over to the right as you look over your left shoulder. Don't let the knees touch down. We'll come back through to center. Let your gaze move to the right as your knees drop to the left. So you're going just as far as you feel like you can with a certain amount of integrity. So there's no pain. It feels like the motion is pretty well controllable. And you shouldn't, I don't like to use the word should, I'd love for you not to feel anything at all in your neck here. So this is something we want to do with the core, with the muscles between the ribs and the hips, which we're trying just to wake up a little bit for our practice today. We'll come back through to center. And then let's take the two legs up in front of us. You can have the knees bent or straight, whatever works for you. And let's start to circle the ankles a little bit. Cracking is fine. You might have some Rice Krispies there. And then after a moment, let's reach the arms up and add the wrists too. You don't need to worry about really making this any special kind of movement. We're just circling. And then you can go the other way. It's okay if you can't see your ankles. You don't need to be able to see them. Just feel as though you're circling them and as full a range of motion as you can manage. And then when you feel like you've had enough with that, we'll just rest for a moment. Complete breath in and out. This practice is designed to counter the work of our modern lives, which has us in inflection, it has us rounded forward and seated so much of our day. But it's also designed to counter some of that rush, some of that hurriedness, that busyness that can take over. So we're going to consciously pause for a moment where we can and just check in and see, how am I right now? Our next move will take us to a tabletop position. So you can roll to the side or roll up, however you'd like to do. And we're coming to hands and knees. Continuing a little bit to awaken the core. Let's start here by lifting your left hand 1 inch away from the floor, and then we'll lift the right knee 1 inch away from the floor too. Now, if this is more than your wrists are comfortable with, you can always do this on fists. Or you can place your elbows on blocks. Good, let's set that down and take the second side. Right hand, left knee. Feel the abdominal muscles, the hip muscles, the muscles around the shoulders and the back having to work to hold you here. Good, let's set that down. We'll do one more time. Right knee, left hand. Trying to keep the back really level so that if I had a plate of food on my pelvis, which would be weird, but if I did, it wouldn't slide off to the side. Set that down. And then the second side for a final time, lifting right hand and left knee. And really trying here, so if somebody were to take a photo or a quick picture of you here, they wouldn't be able to tell that your hand and knee were off of the floor, like they're barely lifted and the body isn't tilting around too much. You're just doing the best you can with that. Of course, it's going to move a little bit. Good, let's set that down. Take 2 or 3 cycles of cat and cow here. We're just asking the spine now to join us in our practice, a little bit more movement. Just rounding the spine and arching the spine. I'm going to do one more. And then we'll get into the calf muscles here. Walk your hands forward just a step or two. And step your right foot back behind you. We'll have the right toes tucked under. What we're after here is to stretch the muscles on the back of your right lower leg, your calf muscles. See if you can drop your head so that there's no additional tension in the neck, and put your mind's focus on your calf muscles as you press your heel back toward the floor behind you, knowing it's not going to touch. If you find that you're needing a little more leverage, the hands might walk a little further forward, so you can play with that. And then we'll switch right knee down and left leg back. Throughout the practice today, see if you can breathe through your nose. I understand things come up, like your nose might feel a little blocked with allergies or what have you, but if it's possible, see if you can breathe in and out through the nose. And if you find that we're moving so much that you want to take a breath through the mouth, then instead I would ask you just to slow down the movement until you're able to nose breathe again. Let's lower the left knee back to the floor. And then we're moving into puppy pose on a Hatasana. So I'm going to keep my hands pretty wide here and take my knees a little bit wide. And then my hands walk forward a little bit so that as I drop my hips back, my hips can't make it to my heels. Even if they could, like even if that were something that were available to me in my body, I'm too strung out here. My hands are too far forward to make that happen. And then I'd love for you to be able to rest your head on something. So if your head comes to the floor, great. But if it doesn't, you may need to add a little something there, whether it's a block or a pillow or whatever you have handy. We want to make sure that there's no pain in the shoulders. You may need to walk your hands a little wider or play with bent elbows here. And what you may be experiencing, or one of the reasons that we're doing this, is to stretch a little bit through the shoulders and the arms, into the hips, and some of us may feel a little something in the back. Again, no pain. And for those of you who have a bigger range of motion and for whom this would feel good, you might prop your hands up on blocks. Like if you're not getting as much stretch as you'd like here, you can always raise the hands up. You could also do this with your two hands resting on a wall. Step back and then let the chest fall forward. Let's take one more breath here in our puppy pose. And then walk it back in. If down dog feels good to you, you can explore a down dog here. And if down dog isn't something that your body enjoys, then stay with tabletop, play with cat and cow, or child's pose, or whatever feels good to you. Maybe just pausing and feeling into stillness for a moment. We're conditioned, at least in the culture in which I was raised, the United States, I was conditioned to feel like I needed to be busy in order to be productive, in order to be valuable or useful. So pausing and doing nothing, going a little bit more slowly, runs really counter to what I was taught was important. So see if you can just let yourself be for one more moment here without feeling like you need to do or make anything happen. And then we'll take our time to walk toward the front of the mat and come into Ragdoll, a standing forward fold. Now you may need to stand up, walk forward, and then bend forward. That's fine. However you do it is good. Take your feet a comfortable distance apart so that you have plenty of room for your torso. And then I like a little bend in my knee here. That feels good to me. And I've clasped my opposite elbows, so my hands are hanging on to my opposite elbow here. I'm just getting a little dangle side to side. Of course, if this doesn't feel right for you, then I would suggest you change it. We'll just take another 2 breaths here, see if there's any other movement your body's looking for. And then when you're ready, bend the knees and come all the way up to stand. And when you get to the top, let's roll the shoulders up and back and down. Think about standing proudly, standing with dignity. Feel your feet resting on the floor or the mat. Feel your arms by your sides. Feel the breath coming into the body and leaving the body. Now we'll add a little bit of movement here. Reach the arms overhead and we'll bow forward. Bring your fingers to the shins. We'll lift the chest here. And then we're stepping the right foot back behind us into Warrior Two. So it's Warrior Two with the left leg forward. Now we're going to add a little bit of an arm stretch here. So get your legs where you want them. Find that sturdy strength, that stability. And then we're reaching the front arm, left arm, straight up to the sky. Now you could lean back a little bit if you wanted to get a little stretch through the left side of the body. If it feels okay in your body, bend your left hand, your left elbow, so that your left hand slides down the back of the neck, maybe toward the shoulder blades. Take your right hand and add a little bit of an aid here. So I'm now stretching into my tricep muscles. As I do this, I'm still strong in my legs. And for those of you that feel really able and comfortable with arm stretching, you may be able to reach that right arm back behind you, bend the elbow, and make your hands touch behind your back. If you can, great. If that's not available to you, it's not for me today, then I wouldn't make myself crazy about it. I'm really just enjoying the focus I'm getting on the stretch through the left triceps here. Now, check in with your neck. If it's feeling like it's getting a little bit strained, see if you can look in a direction that feels easy for the neck. I'm just going to look back at my right foot and see how that feels. We'll take one more breath in here. And unwind your top arm, reach out through both hands. And this time we're going to bend the back elbow and slide the right arm along the lower back. You can use the left hand to help it. Some of you will be able to grab onto the left thigh. Otherwise, you can grab onto the pants or just rest the arm like I'm showing here. Let's straighten a bit through the left leg. Reach forward through your left arm, and then bring your left hand to your leg or a block. Some of you may find that the floor feels good to rest the hand on. So for me today, I have a block, I'm going to use it. Not in any hurry in our practice today. We're going to be really grounded and mindful. Think about pushing your feet into the floor here. Feel that you're in your body, you have a body. Then gently draw the right shoulder blade toward the spine. And if it feels okay to lean back a little bit, just with the upper body, you can play with that. If you find that your right hand is going numb or it feels uncomfortable or painful, then you're just going to take your right arm out of this position and stretch it up toward the sky for a more traditional triangle shape. Otherwise, we're just adding a little bit of a different movement to our practice. Let's take our final breath here. Bend your left knee. Unwind your back arm, and then wiggle or walk your right foot forward, and we're going to balance the right knee in front of us. So I'm not bringing my foot to the leg for tree pose. I'm just letting the leg be a little bit of a free balance here. Now, if it feels okay in your body, I want to challenge you a little bit to let yourself wobble here. So if you're really good at balancing, try looking around the room and feel how that starts to wake up the experience a little bit more. You could also try closing your eyes. Let's do one more breath here, playing with the balance. And then right foot down to the floor. Once again, we'll pause, feel, and breathe here. And then we're on to the second side, arms overhead. And forward. Lift your chest and step your left foot back behind you for that warrior two. From warrior two, turn your right palm up, reach it to the sky, and you can let the left arm drop down the back leg for a moment. Now, when I say lean back here, I was confused by this for many years when I started practicing yoga. It's not a back bend that we're doing. It's lateral flexion of the spine. So my spine kind of side bends back over the back leg. Now you're just going as far as feels comfortable with that. Then bend your right elbow. Take your left hand and grab on so you get a little bit of a stretch. It doesn't matter where that hand ends up on your back. Just let it be something that feels like it's working for you. Now it can get a little awkward here with the head, especially if that elbow feels like it's pushing it forward. So don't worry too much about where you're looking, but find something that works for you. I'm going to look down at my back heel here as I stretch into my right triceps. So if you did the first session with us, we stretched into the biceps a little bit with a wall stretch. Now we're stretching the triceps. Let's come back up and out through our warrior two. And now we're bending into the left elbow, wrapping left arm around. Reach forward with your right arm. Here's that half-bound triangle pose. Now, if you have a block, you can decide where you want to place it. Same with the hand, of course. I like my block on the outside of my leg, but some people like it on the inside. And you can explore too, hand on the inside, hand on the outside of the leg. In this pose, I'm not asking my hips to turn. If I asked my hips to turn toward the sky, then that would be really uncomfortable for my hips and my lower back. So I'm quite happy with my pelvis where it is, but I'm just going to add a little bit of a light twist through the ribs toward the ceiling. I'm putting a little bit more stretch into the front of my left shoulder. And then your gaze is at whatever looks like it's going to feel good for you. So looking up can be a strain. And just try looking in the same direction that your chest is facing, or down at the floor. Last breath here. Bend your right knee. Back to warrior two, unwrap your back arm, and then we're stepping to the front of the mat. From here, the left knee comes in front of you for that balance. And you can do whatever you want with the hands. Maybe they come to the heart. Maybe they're sort of by the sides. And remember that I asked you on the first side to challenge yourself a little bit. So if you're already challenged with just one foot in the air, then good for you. You can also tap the toes down anytime you need to. This is still balancing. But if it does feel kind of accessible today, you might try to throw yourself off balance a little bit by moving the arms, or by looking around the room, or even closing your eyes and feeling how that challenges what you're working with in your body. It certainly does for me. Good. Set that foot back down. Pause to feel both feet on the floor. And see if you can notice if your experience in your body has changed at all since we first began the practice. Let's move a little bit more from here. Arms overhead. And bow forward. Fingers to the shins, lift your chest. And then we go right foot back to warrior one. Now in warrior one, the arms traditionally are overhead, and we're going to play a little bit with that today again too. Let's bring the hands behind the head for a moment, rest the head into the hands. You're welcome to do whatever feels best with your back heel. If you prefer to lift it a little bit, that might be better for your body, or you could have the heel down. Now the arms are going to be what moves here, so see how you were able to work with this. Reach the arms out to the sides, the elbows straighten, and then spin your upper arm bones to bring the backs of the hands behind your back. Bring them as far up the back as you can, and then let them rest there for a moment. Lift the hands off of the back. Reach them behind you like you're trying to encircle something back there, like a big beach ball you're trying to grab. And then the arms come up and back behind the head. Let's do that 2 more times. Up, circle, rotate, put the hands on the back. Lift off, reach back, rotate, up, hands on. So you might feel you're getting some heat through the shoulders. Rest when you need to, and if it causes any pain, remember that that's not okay. Let's complete this last round here. Lifting off, reaching back, coming all the way back. And then bring the hands in front of you. And from here, let's try to step forward and bring the right knee right in front of us. And then if you want to, I'll show you the front view here, we can add a little opening of the hip. So you take the right knee out to the right, maybe the left arm reaches to the left. Again, if you feel really comfortable here, you can start to challenge yourself. You might look away from the knee, or you might try looking up. Good. It's okay to fail here. In fact, we want a little failure from time to time so we can start to explore where that edge is. Okay. Back to center. Let's put the right foot down on the floor. Complete breath here, feeling what it's like to have both feet on the floor. Noticing that if there was a stress response that arose from being in that position, that we can start to let that settle out a little bit before we move. One more breath. And then here we go. Arms overhead. Bow forward. Lift the chest. And we'll go left foot back. Warrior one again. Now, warrior one with the back heel down automatically throws, for most of us, throws our body into a little bit of extension. I've got a little back bend here. If you find that it's not comfortable, feel free to play with lifting the back heel and sort of tucking the hips under to neutralize the spine. And you could also do this with your knee on the floor in a low lunge position instead. So just know that you have options here. Take the hands behind the head. We're going to do 3 rounds of those swimming arms. Lift the hands off the head, take them wide. Big circle back. Think about trying to go as far as you can without pain, imagining maybe that you can go a little further every time. As you're reaching the arms and swimming them through space, see if you can notice it's not just the arms, not just the hands that are moving, but it's also your shoulder blades moving on your back. Can you notice that? And feel how they swim around too on your back in order to help your body move into this shape. This is the second round. And we'll have one more here. Now if the hands push the head forward, just rest the fingertips by the side instead. Up, reach back, rotate. Lift off, reach back. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm working pretty hard here. Hands come to the head. Good, hands to the heart. Now we're trying to step forward in balance, bringing left knee up in front. Remember, you can have the toes on the floor at any time here. You can also have a hand on the wall or an object or a chair. And then if you want to play a little bit, we open, left hip rotates to the left, right arm reaches to the right. Then maybe playing with the balance a little bit further by taking the gaze over the extended arm or up overhead or looking around the room and seeing, can I do all of that and still know and feel that I'm breathing in my body? Good. Let's bring that leg back to center and put both feet back down on the floor. And just take a moment here and see if there's any movement that your body is looking for. I had a little inclination to, an instinct to shake out a little bit, so I'm shaking out my knees and my hands and my shoulders a little bit. We'll take one breath in and out here. And then just a little more movement. Arms reach overhead. And we'll bow. Fingers to the shins, lift the chest, and step your right foot back. We're coming back into warrior two. Now I'm going to turn just so you can see my arms in front of me in a moment. So it's warrior two with your left leg forward. Hope that's not too confusing that I turned around for you. Then we're going to make this into eagle arms. So we can do this in a couple of different ways. Let's bring the elbows in front of us as though we were sort of framing something off. Then you'll take your left arm, lay it in the crook of your right elbow, and walk it as far across as you can. Let the hand hang. With your opposite elbow, the right elbow now, hug that arm across so you're getting a stretch across the back of the shoulder. This might be where you stay, or if it feels right and it's available to you, you can braid the hands together into your eagle shape, and then the elbows would move a little bit more in front of you. So either way is really good. As you do this, feel as though you are stretching your left shoulder blade away from the spine. And then you can play with how high the arms go, or if there's a little tilt of the head that you want to explore a little neck stretch with. The legs are still strong and steady here. One last breath. And then release the hands. And we're stepping to the front of the mat one more time. Now, as you step forward, let's bring that right leg in front. This will be the last set of these. So I'm balancing. This is the last balance that we'll do on this leg. This time we're playing with a twist. Left hand comes to your right leg. And then start to turn to look over your right shoulder. Maybe the right arm reaches back. Now, if this feels like it's too much, remember the toes can come to the floor at any time. You're still getting really good work done if you do that. Or you can stay with one of the earlier variations that you practiced. See if you can feel the left foot pushing into the floor as you turn your chest to the right. And then bring yourself back through to center, both feet to the floor. One more moment just to breathe. If there's any movement your body needs, a little shake out, you can do that. Arms overhead, bow forward, chest lifts, left foot back. Last standing pose is coming up. Warrior two. Now in our warrior two, with the right leg forward, I'm going to put the right elbow on top of the left arm this time. So the arm sweeps across into the crook of the elbow. I'm walking it as far as it can go, and then I'm using my left arm for leverage to pull it across. Stay with this, or bring the arms into your tangled web. And then, although now we're sort of have our awareness in the upper body, see if you can also feel that you still have a lower body, maybe wiggling your toes. Noticing if your right leg has started to straighten a little bit. See if you can still be as strong in that leg as you want to be. One more breath here. Untangle the arms, reach wide, and then final time, step forward. Left knee in the air in front of you. Challenge yourself to bring the right hand to the left knee. Lift through the spine as you push through your right foot. Maybe you reach the left arm back. Maybe you look over the shoulder. So there's a quality of focus on the balance, of course, but see if you can also let there be a little lightness. We've played today in our balancing poses with setting ourselves up to almost fail or even definitely to fail. So we're noticing what happens, what comes up for us when we explore that, and letting that be part of the experience too. It's really important. Come back through to center, both feet on the floor. And then before we come all the way back down, we're going to do just a little work here. Let's start to swing the arms a little bit. Right arm, left arm forward and back. And then add a little knee bend too. As my right arm comes forward, left knee bends. Left arm comes forward, right knee bends. Just a little swing. And then let the swing get bigger. And turn to look over the back shoulder as you go. You can continue with legs. I let my legs go. You can even make the legs bigger for a standing march. This is a nice one if you're doing this practice like in the middle of your day and you haven't been able to get any real big movement. This is a nice one just to bring that feeling back into the body. If you're lifting the feet, we can bring the heels back down, feet back down, and then start to lower the speed and the velocity and the height of the swings until the arms rest by the sides. Standing camel now. Push the feet into the floor, bring the hands to the lower back. Draw the shoulder blades a little bit together and down. And then think first about broadening across the chest, then lifting. So we want to find that the lower back stays a little bit long here. We're not just dropping into the lower back, but allowing yourself to curl back in a way that feels like it's not compressive. So it doesn't matter how far you go. And for some of us, it'll feel better to keep the chin sort of more neutral or even tucked, looking down. And for others of us, it'll feel good to look toward the ceiling or wherever the chest is facing. Let's take another breath in our camel, wherever we are. And then come back up. Let the arms rest by the sides. Allow yourself to settle out a little bit with that. If you felt like that was more than your body needed, then as we do a second set, do a little bit less of a back bend, a little bit more of a broadening across the chest. If you have been doing a lot of sitting and rounding forward, we don't want to just jump into some big movement here, so let it be as mild as it needs to be for today. For the second standing camel, you might take your hands to the heart, or if you liked them at your back, you could have them there. I'm going to move mine here to Anjali Mudra. Push the feet into the floor, find a little squeeze through the back of the hip, and then lift up through the belly, like you're pulling up a pair of suspenders. Now, as you start to curl yourself backward, you can let the hips tilt forward or move forward a little bit. And remember that you can look in whatever direction feels good for you. Only going as far as you feel is sustainable and breathable. And then back up through to center. Let the arms rest again by the sides. Pause, feel, breathe. For some of us, these are going to feel like so good and we love them. But for others of us, it's going to be like, wow, that is not so great. So you're welcome to sit out this last one, or if you want to join me, we'll do one last camel pose together. Feet pressing into the floor, lift through the chest. Hands could be at the heart, hands could be at the lower back, or for this last one, if it feels good, you might let the arms reach back. And then we'll come all the way back to stand. Pause again, feel and breathe. These can be rather intense if you haven't been doing a lot of back bends. And then from here, when you're ready, let's make our way back down to the floor. And you might just sit for a moment, or it might feel good now to come into a downward facing dog. You may need to do a little bit of time in child's pose. Sometimes people find that's what's calling to them. You may find that there's something else that feels really good. For me, I like to let my spine be neutral and just hang for a few breaths here. Lower the knees down to the floor if you're in down dog with me. We'll come to sit with the two legs in front of us. So we've done sort of a well-balanced, complete practice so far. We're going to close with just a little bit more work. Keep your left leg straight here, bend your right knee, and then step your right foot to the outside of the left leg. You can sort of pull the thigh across here. Now, if it doesn't feel good to step it across, you just stay with the foot on the inside. Some folks will feel like it makes sense for them to bend the bottom knee as well. You could do that, or you can keep that leg straight. I'll show it with my leg straight today. Bring your right hand behind you and use your left hand as a little bit of a lever to continue to draw the thigh bone across the body. As you turn the chest and look over the right shoulder, check in with your neck, your jaw, your shoulders, and see how you are here. See if there's anything that needs a little attention, a little care. Let's come back through to center, and we'll change legs. Two straight legs, bend your left knee, option to step the left foot to the outside of the leg, and then gently pulling the thigh across the body. Now, if that feels like there's nowhere for it to go because your belly or your other leg or your hip are in the way, then that's fine. Don't worry about that, especially if there's any pinching. Otherwise, we're just trying to do a little adduction. We're trying to bring the leg a little bit across the body, but never if it hurts. As you turn your chest a little bit here, finding that lift through the spine, that solid groundedness through the hips. Make sure that you still know you're in your body. You're still really present and aware with whatever you're experiencing. Back to center. Straighten your left leg. Briefly bend the right knee. And Janu Shirshasana here. You may be able to fold forward. For some folks, especially if you spend a lot of time sitting, when we go to fold forward, it's like all about the back and the hamstrings just aren't getting anything. So if that's happening for you, then instead, I would have you come over to a wall and take your 2 legs up the wall. So we're getting a passive hamstring stretch here. In fact, if you just think you'd rather do this than Janu Shirshasana, then go ahead and set yourself up with your local wall. Otherwise, we've got one leg straight and the other leg bent. Good. If you've chosen a wall, stay there or switch legs with me. Whichever leg you didn't do, now we're doing that one. At this point in the practice, we can know that we've done some really good work. We've moved our body in different patterns. We've asked our body to stretch and strengthen. We've asked our mind to be with our body, to be in the present moment. And so now, as we prepare to move into meditation or Savasana, or if you've got your legs up the wall, you could stay there. I'm going to lie down. As you move into this last shape, this last resting pose, you can really give yourself, I guess permission is the word I'm looking for, but maybe give yourself freedom or space to know that you don't need to do anything else. You've already done so much. We've had 45 minutes of really solid work for your body. And so the head can be a little bit heavy here. We don't need to think about lifting it. If it feels good to close the eyes, you can do that. We don't need to be looking at anything unless you'd like to. Imagine your whole face could feel a little heavy here because we don't need to be ready to speak. And similarly with the arms, maybe you can let the hands fall a little bit more open and the legs feel a little bit softer. If you feel like you need a little bit more comfort or safety or protection, it can be helpful to lay a blanket or a pillow maybe over the pelvis, or a blanket over the whole body can feel really nice. And then we're here just for about a minute. Just giving our body an opportunity to let all of that soak in. Now, if you have time and you're able to stay a little bit longer in your rest, please feel free to do that. Otherwise, if today you've got just 45 minutes, then it's time to bring the knees in toward the chest or move around in whatever way you want to. And without feeling like you need to hurry, you can roll over to the side and make your way back to the seat. There are so many ways that we can move our body, so many options that we have, and so much of what we do throughout our day just doesn't take advantage of all the ways our bodies are designed to move. In fact, for our practice today, I was thinking about all the things that we didn't have time to do. So maybe there needs to be a part 3 to this one too. But for now, trust that you did really good work. It might be helpful to pause for a moment and feel into the body. Maybe one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. Just noticing what awareness you have now of how your body is feeling, how your heart and your mind are feeling after all of this good work. And then if you'd like to bring the hands to the heart and bow chin to chest, acknowledging the power of the practice, this potency that it can have to transform our experience, and to honor too the lineage of yoga that gives us this opportunity to practice. When you're ready, eyes blink open, and it's time to move on. Thank you so much for taking care of yourself with me today. I look forward to being with you again soon. In the meantime, take care and be well.